and welcome back to my channel. In my last video I swatched out these Gallo watercolors. This is the 24 signature set with YlnMn Blue, this one here. Somebody in my comments kindly informed me that it's called YlnMn Blue, so thanks for that. And in the last video I just swatched them out, so this time I thought we would play around with them, also because I didn't get round to using the brush that comes with the set. The brush is a size 0 Tintoretto 1407 synthetic BuyMeACoffee brush. I thought it'd be fun to try it out and see what kind of marks we can get from it. Doing some watercolor drills. Sometimes watercolor drills can be really boring, but they're great for learning brush control and finding out about your brush and seeing what you can do. So let's get on with that. I'm going to do it on these Arches watercolor paper, 300 grams, 100% pure cotton, hot press. So there's not going to be much texture on it. And what I thought I would do is I would do 2 doodles. So one is going to be, they're going to be 2 circular doodles. We'll make them up as we go along. But one is going to be using the top row of paints and one is going to be using the second row of paints. Both of them, I'm going to start off with the blue in the middle and then go out. So we'll have blue going into purples, reds, orange and yellow. And then the other one will have the blues going into the teals, turquoises, and then down to the ochre colours and brown at the end. So it'll be nice to see the different colours together. I haven't used the brush yet, so I'm just going to start off by dipping it in some plain water just to loosen up the bristles and get all any sizing that might have been on there off. So the first thing I'm going to do is start with putting a circle in the middle. I'm going to do a wet on wet for the first circle, and then for the rest of it we'll just do wet on dry. But I thought it'd be fun to drop some colour into that wet paint first of all, into the wet water. The wet water. Water is always wet. Okay, so let's bring over the paints and start in with the Indanthrone blue. I'm just going to drop that straight in there. Look at that. I love how if you just tilt the paper around, it just circles around and eventually spreads out into the water that's there. You can get some great effects this way. I'm going to put a bit more paint in there because we want it to come out in nice colour, not be too weak. Okay, I'm going to leave like that for the first one and then we'll just see how it dries. So first of all, I'm just going to draw some arches around. The point of this exercise is to learn brush control, so I'm trying to get them as even as possible, but that's not always coming out. The brush feels very nice to begin with. Oops, that one's actually accidentally leaked into the middle circle, but never mind. It's the same colour, so it won't be that drastic. And then I'm going to put a dot in here, the same colour. I've got lots of colour and water on the brush. I should probably take some of that off, actually. There's loads of water on there. But it'll all be interesting to see how it dries when there's more water, how it dries when there's less water, less pigmented. So even though it's not going to be 100% perfect, it's all interesting to see. So coming in now with the purple, the Notturno, I'm just going to do a line around what I've already done. I'm trying to make sure that the line is fairly consistent and fairly thin. I love when you can get a point on a brush and you can get a thin line from it. So that's what I'm trying to aim for here. I could, to make this easier, spin the paper around because then I would be using my hand at the same angle each time and that would probably be easier. But at the same time, it's the challenge of using the brush at different angles that I'm going to try and go for. So I'll try and avoid spinning my paper around each time. And then we can see the more perfection around this area for sure. Or the more awkward moves as I go over to the top left-hand corner. But this is also just a fun way to play around with your watercolours and explore with your colours and have some creative time and not feel like you have to produce a masterpiece, because that can be quite stressful each time and it can also be quite disheartening if you haven't got a masterpiece in you at that time. So it's just a way that one can play around and have fun. The next colour is this gorgeous Tyrian purple. one there. And now I think I'm going to come off each one of these and draw a stalk and then some random flower head or circle, more like, but I intend it to be a kind of a flower with a circular shape. So they are not going to be the same each one. Not really aiming for that, but just to have some kind of interest. It's looking a bit coronavirus-y at the moment. This is really awkward. I can't really bring the paintbrush in that direction so well, so I'm just doing the best I can from the angle that I'm working at. Okay, so the next one is Quinacridone Violet, a colour I absolutely love. Just beautiful. It's this one here. And I think I'm going to do some skinny lines in between the pseudo flowers. We'll do smaller one, longer, longer, longer. So then I've got 3. Okay, so that gives me 7 lines, with the longer one being in the center. Again, I'm trying here for the thin brush control, thin lines. This is really awkward. Reaching across it. And I can feel my hand shaking as I do it. I've got way more control when I'm back over on this side. Okay, I'm back to a more manageable angle now. So much more control. Next one is the Quinacridone Magenta. I think I'll do a pointy arch over those. Coming out quite floral, but also a bit like a rose window at the moment. It's reminding me of. Nothing perfect or accurate about this at all. But I think that's also what gives things their charm in a way when they're not perfect, because then you can see the inaccuracies, the perfection of the imperfection. Ah! Couldn't see what my hand was doing, so that one went smack into the purple. But never mind. This is not an exercise, as I just said, in perfection. But definitely a lesson to learn if you're doing something where you do want to be more precise, to make sure you can see what your hand is doing, because otherwise you can end up with colours merging into each other, which you may or may not want. I think I'm going to go inside here and try for a triangle. This is going to be a tense moment. It's going to be very easy to knock into the other colours and merge them, but I'm going to attempt not to, because again, this is a lesson in brush control and tiny spaces. Here I haven't really got much room, so that's going to be a half triangle, and so is that one. I'll just fill in the shape that fits with the shape I've got, rather than worrying about geometrical precision. That's a teeny tiny one. I feel like I just want to put it into my left hand and do it there, although that would probably come out really bad. But maybe I should try a left-handed painting one day. It could be quite fun. I'm leaning round to be able to see what I'm doing. The ruby red is next. I'm going to try and do a leafish kind of shape coming out of here. So I put 2 of those kind of things. Whoops. I guess I wanted it to be thinner at one end, more like this. That one did not quite get the right shape. This is such a beautiful colour, especially next to the magenta. If you want to have a go at doing one of these, you can make up your own shapes or follow these. There's no rules, no set way that it has to be done. It's just whatever comes to your mind at the time. And that goes for both the colours and the shapes. It's just about playing around and having fun. This is super awkward. I guess I could just move it a little bit and make it easier. Even though I moved it, I've still got that shape going off the wrong way. Okay, so these have got progressively smaller as I went along. That was my first one, which was kind of exactly how I envisaged it. And then nothing else really came out exactly like that. But hey, that's the way it goes. Now I feel like I'm going to stick with the same color and just put some dots around. Over here it's so awkward. I don't want to put my hand across it and mess up the whole painting, which could easily happen. Okay, so now we'll move on to the alizarin crimson. I think I'm going to do a little zigzaggy kind of thing coming out of here. Ooh, this one is really tight. That might not have been a good move. I should have looked at it before I did it. Okay, just about, and in here again, massive squeeze. Okay, just about got that one in. That one is also a bit of a squeeze, and I'm definitely going to have to spin this around to do these because this is really intricate and there's hardly any room. That one's a bit better. And the last two there's a bit more, but now we've got the Medici red, which is much more towards orange, much lighter. So let's see, I think I'm going to hop over these dots in a kind of rainbowy, archy kind of way. That is just so awkward trying to paint over there, also because I don't want to cover it up so much with my hand, so I will spin it around. Next up I've got the Hokkaido orange. I'm going to put a second line over the orange rainbow. That was very close. I nearly ran that straight into there. And then I'm going to do a kind of 3-pronged leaf kind of shape. And I'm definitely going to spin it around for this because otherwise I don't feel like it's going to work out at all. That's a bit faint, needs more paint. Whoop, not that much. This could also be about paint control and the amount that you need or don't need on your brush. Oops, only just managed to get 3 in there. Some of these spaces are much tighter than others. And there too, just about managed it. So the next one is arancione. Put some little triangles in here. This seems very similar to the Hokkaido orange. This would also be a great exercise if you did want to be accurate, because something geometric like this makes it quite clear where you've messed up and where you haven't been accurate, so it would immediately give you that indication if that's something that you wanted. I've got 2 yellows to go. One is the Azo Yellow Gold, which is a gorgeous colour. So for that I feel like I want something bold, a bold mark. So I'm going to make a let's see. Let's do a bold arch from there. A second arch in alternating segments. Whoops. That was not very good brush control at all. I was supposed to come in quite thin there, but it came in really quite thick. And for the last one, we've got lemon yellow. I think we'll do a similar kind of, we'll do some radiating lines coming out of here. Trying to get 5 in each one. Okay, so there is the first wheel. That is extremely rainbowy. I'm looking forward to seeing the next one because the next one's got these gorgeous, I mean, they're all gorgeous, but this just is like, for me, super rainbow. These ones feel more earthy. So I'm looking forward to seeing what a similar wheel looks like with those colors. Again, I'm going to put down some plain water first in the middle and then drop it wet into wet. So it's going to be the periwinkle blue going down first. I can do roughly the same size circle, taking up some of the excess water I've got down there. And then let's go and grab the periwinkle blue. Ah, wow, I love that color. Again, I love how it spreads out. I'm not going to tip the paper this time because I've still got some really wet yellow around here, so I don't want to disturb that too much. So I'll just place the periwinkle in there. I'll do a similar kind of pattern for this one. So let's just start with the arches. And instead of a dot, I'll do a bit of a larger mark to kind of fill up the inside. So it'll be similar with some variation. Next up, we've got the YlnMn Blue. I'm inspired to drop a drop of this into this wet periwinkle. And see how that plays out. So next one, so this is going to be the ring around all of them. Maybe I can perfect my brush control on this one, she says, immediately messing it up. The brush feels super nice though, it's keeping its point very well. And it's true that I haven't really put it through its paces, exploring all sorts of different, wildly different marks, but I'm very much enjoying it so far. Next is the Azzurro, and for this one we'll make those funny kind of flower heads, the coronavirus flowers. Okay, this is super awkward. I have to turn that around a little bit without getting my hand all over this other one and messing that up. Okay, the next color is aquamarine. So I think here, instead of doing those lines, I'm going to go for more of a 2-stroke pointy arch thing, which did not turn out as I was planning. Okay, that will do. She says completely filling it in and making it not 2 strokes at all, but some painted shape. Well, let's just see. That was more like what I was aiming for, so we'll stick with that as we go around. I love that colour so much. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to do a bigger shape rather than the lines, so that we could see more of the colour. It's really got this green tint to it, like a beautiful sea colour. If you're swimming in the Mediterranean turquoise waters, you feel like you'd be swimming in this colour. The next one is Harbour Blue, which I also love. I'm going to do a ring around this, but then I might also go around the flower because I just love this colour so much. I want to have it as much as I can. But we'll see how this goes because maybe I'm not going to need it. It looks lovely with that aquamarine. Ah! Join them. That's what happens when your brush control is not spot on. I think I'm going to go in and put a teeny weeny little triangle of this Harbour Blue in here because I want to get as much of it in there as I can. Oops, I joined it with that one too, but luckily there's not. That one's more dry, so it didn't create quite so much of a merging bleed. Ooh, there it did. There's great beauty in the merging bleeds, but they're not necessarily what you want all the time. Now we're going to move on to olive green deep. This is a really interesting color. It granulates with separation of colors, blue, yellow and green. Let's do some outposts coming up here. The next one is forest green. I feel like the forest green should be a kind of V shape, like a flying bird kind of shape coming in. Or like a stamen coming out of the flower. Or a hummingbird going in there to get the nectar. Definitely having to spin around for this. That one's kind of awkward. To avoid going over the paint, I have to come in at this funny angle. Next up is deep sea green, and it's this beautiful, beautiful pale teal colour. And what are we going to do next? Let's do some lines in here. I was going for 7, but I think I might only get 5 in over here. Probably get 7 over here. And 5 over here. 5 over here. Looks like 7 is going to be the exception. This next colour is fig green, and it's quite bright and contrasty with what we've got down there already. So I feel like I'm going to put a diamond in here. It's got a completely different feel to the other one next to it just because of the colours, even though the patterns are quite similar. I feel like this hot press paper doesn't absorb as much as the cold press paper, so the water's really sitting on the surface. Like I've got way too much there. I'll just take some of that out. The next one is quinacridone gold. This is a granulating colour, so let's see what we want to do with it. We should probably put in some of those arches like we've got on the previous one, or rainbow kind of connecting arches. So let's do that over here. It's really got an orangey feel to it, which gives it that really gorgeous feeling, like it's come from being just greens to much more of an orangey twang, pulling it back in line with the other one more. And this big arch is super awkward to paint. The next one is transparent red oxide, which is made up of the pigment that is in the quinacridone gold. So this is going to be very complementary. So for that reason, I'm going to do a second arch over it, because those two are really tied to each other in terms of pigment. And so also in line. Ooh, I nearly went straight into that yellow diamond. And the last colour is chromite brown. I think to keep it in keeping with this one, we'll do some of those lines. We'll do 3 in each little triangle shape here. Ah! That's totally mixed in with the chromite, with the transparent red oxide. That was a clash to be avoided. I keep going back to that one because I've got so much water in there. I'm just picking up water from there. And our last triangle here. So there we have our 2 circles using the top row of colours on the left one and the bottom row of colours on the right one. That's just a fun, simple play around exercise you can do just to warm up your hands, just to have some fun, just to experiment, doodle, play around, just pass some time instead of feeling like you have to come up with some amazing work of art every time you want to get your paints out and play. So I hope you enjoyed that, and do have a go and play around yourself because it's a really fun exercise. See you next time. Bye.